Well, paper is certainly not a commodity, but it is following the trend that we are seeing in the raw materials market. Oil, for example, continues to hit record highs well above $100 a barrel. Well, let's pull in Klaus Deutsch with Deutsche Bank Research to talk about this. Mr. Deutsch, always good to see you. Are companies feeling the pressure now from expensive oil?
Not as much as we would expect. German companies, for example, are protected by the high exchange rate of the euro, and so the oil bill is not as expensive as you would think.
But outside the Eurozone,
right,
it's a problem.
Right.
Let's look at the global economy. That's why we have you here this week. It's time for our monthly look at the DBIX, the German International Business Index. Now, it's based on economic data from Germany, the U.S., and Japan, and is created exclusively for DWTV. Now, Mr. Deutsch, we see a slight improvement in January, down again in February, then back up again in March. How do you read this?
Well, markets lack guidance. What you really see is that German industrialists still have their order books pretty good, well filled, and that the U.S. industry is not doing as poorly as we expected. And so, it depends on the monthly developments, but it's not a clear sign that we are behind the crisis. I wouldn't expect that.
I mean, speaking of a crisis, everyone talking about a recession possibly taking place in the U.S. Is the U.S. in recession?
No, not yet, and probably they will just, edge at the corners of it, but I don't think they will fall into a full recession.
There is a lot of talk right now about the European Central Bank cutting interest rates, about the U.S. Fed cutting rates again. What do you say to that? What are the chances of that happening?
Well, the two central banks are really in two different ball games. In Europe, we have strongly rising prices and little or small effects of the financial crisis, and the central bank will probably remain tough. In the United States, you have a deep financial crisis, and so the central bank has to be on alert, and it might lower interest rates again, but right now I don't think it's an immediate possibility.
There are calls right now, particularly in Europe, for more transparency and for more regulation of the banking sector. Briefly, do you think we need that?
Well, certainly. Otherwise, market participants won't find trust in each other anymore, and a liquidity crisis won't stop.
And briefly, do you think it's possible to regulate the banking sector more?
Well, it has already happened with the new capital adequacy directive, and further steps are necessary, and it will happen.
Okay. Mr. Deutsch, as always, thanks for talking with us.
Welcome.
Well, now it's time to hear what you have to say. Now, last week we asked, are you spending more and more on groceries? Well, everyone who wrote in said yes, and that includes Mofasur Rahman from Bangladesh. Now, he writes that he spends about $120 a week on food for his family of four. He and his wife try to cut costs by packing lunches and by shopping at big chain supermarkets. Well, thanks for your comments there. Now to our question this week. Are you worried about a possible recession? Well, send us your thoughts. Just go to our website. That's dwworld.de/English/Made in Germany. That's all one word. You can fill out our online questionnaire, and you'll automatically be qualified for the next drawing of our prize, which will be a DVD entitled German Family Business.